Hello and welcome to Pepper Clock. I am Perpetual Fasanmi-Peter. Today on Pepper Clock, I'll continue from where we stopped the other time. That's on our last episode where I was talking to managers, employers, and supervisors. I was talking to them on some of the things they can do to ensure that their staff, their employees, work effectively from home. And I also remember promising that this particular one will be focused on productivity, how an employee can actually be more productive even though he or she is working from home. And one of the things I've come to realize is we can't even talk about productivity without first having a yardstick for measurement. And this yardstick is such that should be known to the parties involved. This means that you probably have a timeline for delivering certain things. There are some things you're supposed to deliver in a day, some things you're supposed to deliver in a week, some things you're supposed to deliver in a month. And so you already know when you want to resume per day, you know the things that are expected of you. As a broadcaster, you probably know that, oh, you're supposed to have a full show in a day, or you're supposed to go out there and get some reports, and these are some of the things, these are the deliverables, and so each of these deliverables have a timeline, and so I believe that we have that clear already. And so knowing that there is a timeline for deliverables, you also want to plan your time. And so when you wake up in the morning, you tell yourself, okay, I have a to-do list, I have something I'm supposed to do for today. And so that is supposed to guide you. That's supposed to help you to know that on Monday, these are the things you need to attend to. And then on Tuesday, these are the things you're supposed to do. I also know that there are some things, in some places, you may not even be able to control the issues you will have to attend to per day. This is dependent on your industry or your company. And so either way, you should just have a plan for each day. Now, apart from having a plan you want to work with daily, you also want to have a routine. You have a resumption time. I'll advise you are very strict with your resumption time. And so you tell yourself, this is the time I will resume. And you also tell yourself, by this time, I'll go for my lunch break. And you also tell yourself, by this time, I'll close. Now, that is done. Apart from that, another thing you want is to minimize distraction. You do not want to be distracted. I want to believe that while you were always on site, there were certain things you used to do. Probably you used to mute some notifications, or you don't take calls, or your family members, your friends already know that they can't call you within certain hours because you're supposed to be at work. I'm sure that was probably in place before you started working from home. Now you don't have to throw that away because you're working from home. You still have to continue doing that. And to be able to do that, you may need the cooperation of your family members and your friends. Make them understand that it's still the same thing. It's still the same routine. It's still the same work you're doing. Your workload hasn't reduced. Even if it has, you want to ensure that you are indispensable. You want to ensure that you're an asset to your company. You want to ensure that if the company decides that, you know what, we learned a thing or two from the from having our staff work from home, and we are probably changing our models, and we may need to lay off some people. You want to be sure that you won't be one of the people that will be laid off. And so for that to happen, you need your family and friends to know that it's still work and it's not different from work. And that way you will get their support. That way your wife knows that it's not time to cuddle, or your husband knows it's not time to cuddle, whatever that is or whatever that means to you anyway. But you know what I'm trying to say. Just minimize distraction. Ensure that it's still the same thing you were doing while you were on site that you'll be doing. Now, if you're someone who isn't disciplined, you may need to be more disciplined, because for some persons, when they are in a place where they are being monitored, they seem to be disciplined, they do the right thing. But the moment there is no supervision, they get back to status quo. No, you have to be disciplined. You have to tell yourself, no. You have to get your friends and family to understand that you are working and you are not going to allow them distract you. I believe they're amazing people. They wouldn't want to distract you. I mean, they're already used to it before now. All right, and apart from that, another thing I think you should also do is, while you're working, you've done the things that would ensure that you work well from home. Another thing you want to do is to be able to deal with challenges or report challenges. I remember in our previous episode, I already spoke to the employers about the things they should provide. Now, if your employer has provided certain things and these things are not working, or you've been logged out, or maybe there is need to update a particular application, and because of that, the application has locked you out and all of that, you need to make that report. If there are certain things you don't have access to, like I said during the previous episode about your employees releasing some reports to you, ensuring that you have access to updated reports, data, and information. If these things are not forthcoming, you need to escalate. You need to complain. You need to let them know that you are not able to deliver because you do not have access to certain files. And so it will be the work of your supervisor, your manager, or whoever is in charge to ensure that this is sorted. And that way you keep doing what you're supposed to do. And I also know that in some companies, not having access to certain information or certain reports or certain data would mean that your company may be breaching a regulatory requirement. And so it's important that you escalate when there is the need for you to do so. And that's where you put yourself, you're able to exonerate yourself. And so the bosses and the people who are in charge will ensure that that thing is available. And if there is a need for them to probably write the regulatory agency, the regulatory body to say, okay, saying that everybody's having to work from home, we didn't envisage this, we didn't put enough plan in place, and so because of that, we'll not be able to deliver this within this period, they can get all of that sorted, but what's important is that you've been able to exonerate yourself, and you have made the right people know what to do, and that exactly is what they are going to do. But there's a lot more you may also have to do. You have to ensure that you keep the devices safe. Your employer has done well to give you a laptop or a phone, whatever it is they've given you to work with. You have to ensure that these things are safe. Keep them very well. You don't keep the laptop on the table when you have a child and then somebody drops water on the same table. Come on. You have to treat these things very, very well. Treat them well. Because if anything happens to them, you do not know when next you get another device to be able to continue with what you're doing. Anyway, we're going to have a very good time out, and when we come back, I'll be telling you more. It's still Purple Clock, and I am Perpetual Fasanmi-Peter.